In this session, I will explain the causes of diabetes. Diabetes occurs when blood sugar rises to a certain level and causes tissue damage, as I mentioned before. Because of that risk, one of the body's regulatory mechanisms is to excrete sugar through urine. Among our nutrients, sugar is the most urgently needed and is used like cash. It's the most important nutrient because it's used like cash. But why does the body excrete this through urine? And why does this lead to the onset of diabetes? Let me explain this part. Imagine a mother or grandmother throwing money out from a high-rise apartment or building. If someone is throwing money out from a high-rise building, you'd think that grandmother is out of her mind, right? But if you go inside, you see that the older son and the younger son are fighting over the money. It's gotten to the point where they're about to stab each other with knives. So now, if you were that grandmother or mother, what would you do? If you keep this money, the older and younger sons are about to stab each other over it. You'd throw it away, right? You'd throw it outside, right? So this grandmother also has her reasons for throwing it away. Just like that, there are reasons why urine is expelled from the body or why something like cash is thrown out. Why is sugar expelled from the body? I'm going to explain that to you. Number one, to begin with, let's look at the very first cause. Have you ever heard of the specialized clusters of cells known as the islets of Langerhans located within the pancreas? Within these clusters, there are both crucial alpha cells and distinct beta cells working together. So the alpha cells secrete a hormone called glucagon, and the beta cells secrete insulin, like this. So what is glucagon based on? It's controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. It's regulated by the sympathetic nervous system. Shall we think about this up to here? What is the sympathetic nervous system? It's the state of stress. I've explained this, right? When you are stressed, the sympathetic nervous system is activated in the liver. Because it's under the control of the sympathetic nervous system, it causes glucagon to be secreted. So what role does glucagon play? Glucagon converts glycogen, which is stored in places like the liver or muscles, into glucose. That's what glucagon does. In the liver, why does it do this? Think about it for a moment. In an emergency situation, for example, in the old days, imagine a tiger is chasing you. Then you have to run away as fast as you can. But just as you're about to run, you need energy. So since you need energy in the form of sugar, but you can't instantly raise your blood sugar, your body converts the stored glycogen into sugar. That's how you use it as energy. So how does this work? This is sugar produced inside your body. So there are two types of diabetes. There is diabetes that develops inside the body and diabetes that comes from outside the body. And right now, I'm explaining how diabetes is created inside the body, specifically how stress leads to diabetes. So the situation where the lion is chasing you is a stressful situation. But nowadays, there aren't any lions chasing us. These days, we get stressed because of work, financial issues, marital relationships, or problems with our children. It works in exactly the same way. The sympathetic nervous system becomes overactive, glucagon turns glycogen into glucose, and this raises your blood sugar. But now there's no running away from lions or climbing trees to escape. There's nothing to use up that energy. That's where it ends. This shows how your blood sugar rises when you're under continuous stress. Sugar is what helps expel this from your body. The second point is about diet. High carbohydrates, carbohydrate-based meals, and high sugar. In other words, our diet consists of eating a lot of carbohydrates and sugar. It's beyond words right now. We're consuming an enormous amount of sugar, like what's found in sweets. And just think about how much carbohydrate we eat as well, whether it's rice, bread, or anything else. So both of these, carbohydrates also turn into sugar, don't they? Disaccharides and things like that, all of these end up increasing blood sugar levels. This means our eating habits are wrong. It's called dietary fiber deficiency. Fiber is lacking while sugar intake goes up. Even fruit is becoming sweeter and has less fiber, right? Even rice is polished, so it loses its fiber and the sugar content shoots up. This is what's happening. our eating habits. So shall we take a look at these together? Alcoholic drinks like soju and others all get converted into sugar. That's why people say this, right? They say that a shot of soju is like a bowl of rice and so on. That's because it all gets converted into sugar. So shall we take a look at the lifestyle of someone who works in an office? They get stressed out at work, their sympathetic nervous system is activated. Inside their body, blood sugar is rising right now. Glucagon is raising the blood sugar even more. But what do? They drink soju. They eat pork belly and drink soju with their coworkers, and then more sugar comes in. Look at this. Sugar and more sugar. How could this person not get diabetes if they keep living like this? Isn't that right? They keep living this way. Next, the third factor is lack of exercise. Let me explain what that means. In the bloodstream, insulin transports sugar in the blood. So it delivers it to the cells. When insulin brings it to the cell's receptor, later on in the master's course or in specialized programs, I explain this in great detail, but to put it simply, it allows the mitochondria in each cell to use it, like this. And then what happens to it? It gets converted into ATP in the form of electrical energy. It generates electricity, and that energy keeps getting used. So exercise is basically the act of consuming this energy. Do you understand? When you supply sugar like this, you need to use up the energy in this way so that more sugar will be produced. But if you don't exercise, then there are two types of exercise, right? External exercise and basal metabolism, things like your heart beating, these are all forms of exercise too. But when these decrease, less energy is used and more sugar accumulates here. So the cells don't take in this sugar. That's what insulin sensitivity is. It means that it decreases. So when you exercise a lot, people say that your insulin sensitivity increases. This is what they're talking about. So a lack of exercise. Living a sedentary lifestyle, having a lower basal metabolic rate, and not getting enough exercise. The fourth is nutritional deficiency. What kind of nutritional deficiency do we have these days? It's not that kind of concept, as I mentioned earlier here as well. If you're lacking even one mineral, vitamin, or any nutrient, your metabolism can't function properly. What does that mean? What's the first nutrient? Lack of dietary fiber. What did I say is another name for diabetes? Dietary fiber deficiency. In our food, rice is highly polished, fruits have high sugar content, and overall, our diet is high in carbohydrates and sugar, but low in dietary fiber. Because our current eating habits lack dietary fiber, blood sugar levels go up. There's another very important nutrient, the second one, chromium. What is chromium? When sugar needs to be absorbed here, chromium acts to open the door, so to speak. Chromium's role is to open the door in the cell so that it can take in sugar. What does that mean? It means that even if everything else is healthy, just lacking chromium alone can lead to diabetes. This alone is not the absolute cause. So what's the third thing? Things like vitamins B, C, and D. They help metabolize sugar, use energy. Vitamin C strengthens blood vessels and aids metabolism. And vitamin D is also said to play a very important role. And then various minerals as well. They help with different metabolic processes and keep things running smoothly. Next, the fourth is a balanced diet. These are all necessary. Having a balanced intake of nutrients helps produce insulin properly and allows the pancreas to function well. So I think that, wow, this is so complicated. Just look at it. Psychological stability. What's really important here? Psychological stability. So number one is psychological stability. Being less stressed and better able to manage stress effectively. Then, what would you say is the second one? Maintaining a nutritional diet that is exceptionally rich in dietary fiber and consistently low in total carbohydrates. a low carbohydrate, fiber-rich diet, and then consistent, regular, engaging in regular physical exercise, and maintaining a significantly higher overall basal metabolic rate. It's about making your heart exercise, making your liver exercise, and making your intestines exercise. Next, balanced nutrition. You need to maintain this balance to be able to overcome diabetes. So, as I mentioned before, you get really stressed out and then go drink soju with your colleagues. Of course, it does bring some mental stability. But the sugar produced here and the sugar produced there keep raising your blood sugar. And if you don't get rid of it, when you marinate meat, you add sugar to make the tissue tender. The tissue melts away. It becomes necrotic. If your blood sugar keeps rising like that, there's a risk of necrosis. So inevitably, with diabetes, for example, you end up taking medication or blocking insulin. Or you inject insulin instead, or stimulate the pancreas to force it to produce insulin, causing pain like this. And eventually, after that, your body gets damaged. If you keep getting diabetes, your eyesight deteriorates, your heart gets worse. You shouldn't just think about passing the test. You need to make an effort to become healthy. You have to check these causes and figure out what you're lacking and address those issues. That's the only way to ensure a healthy life. I'll end here.